Japanese artillery was already crashing into the plaza at Agana. Bullets whizzed past a small group of American sailors and Marines trying to hold their position. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and nearly surrounded. But they were still firing. 2 days earlier, the island had learned the war had begun. On the morning of December 8th, a radio report announced the attack on Pearl Harbor. Guam's leaders immediately understood what it meant. The island had almost no defenses. In all, there were only about 500 defenders on the island, Americans and Chamorros combined, a small group of Marines, a few Navy personnel, and members of the local Chamorro Guard. That was all that stood between Guam and the coming invasion. But there were still a few hours to prepare. Japanese nationals living on Guam were detained and placed in the local jail. Soon afterward, communications across the island failed. Telephone lines had been cut. With no way to contact outposts, a jeep was sent across the island, warning scattered detachments that an attack was likely. Word spread quickly among the population. Schools dismissed their students. Families were told to stay together. Many civilians began leaving town and heading toward the hills. In one village, a Catholic mass was underway when the warning arrived. The priest told the congregation to return home and remain with their families. Then he calmly turned back and finished the mass. Across the island, the small garrison prepared what defenses it could. Weapons and ammunition were issued. There were very few. A handful of machine guns, some Browning automatic rifles, old Springfield rifles, and pistols. There were no aircraft, no airfields, no coastal guns guarding the beaches. Orders were also given to destroy anything that might be useful to the enemy. Documents were gathered and burned. Sensitive papers, codes, and records were thrown into fires as quickly as possible. Weapons were damaged. Supplies were destroyed or dumped. The small garrison knew that if Guam fell, nothing of value should be left behind. Japanese aircraft appeared soon afterward. Fighters and bombers swept across the island. Anything that moved became a target. Villages were strafed. Roads were strafed. Civilians running for cover were fired upon. In one place, a group of children standing together in the open were attacked by a low-flying aircraft. The naval hospital at Agana had a large red cross painted clearly across its roof. It made no difference. A Japanese aircraft flew low and strafed the building. Out in Apra harbor, the minesweeper USS Penguin put to sea. Her captain moved the ship into open water where it could maneuver against the attacking aircraft. As the vessel cleared the harbor, the crew opened fire with everything available. Machine guns and automatic weapons poured rounds into the sky. Tracer bullets streaked upward. The heavy fire forced several attacking aircraft to break off their runs. But the barrage also drew more attention. Japanese fighters concentrated on the lone ship. Bombs fell around her. One struck close enough to cripple the vessel. The Penguin was finished. The order was given to abandon ship. Sailors went into the water and swam for shore. When they reached land, they had to climb over sharp rock to escape the surf. The stone tore their uniforms and cut their hands and feet. Many reached the top nearly naked and bleeding. Meanwhile, panic spread through the capital. Roads leading out of town filled with civilians trying to escape. Families became separated. Before long, much of the town had emptied as people fled into the countryside. That night, another report reached the command post. Several Chamorro men from nearby Saipan had landed by canoe. They were captured and questioned. They explained the Japanese had forced them to travel to Guam so they could act as interpreters after the invasion. On the evening of December 9th, Guam's senior leaders met to decide what to do. Governor George McMillan met with Admiral Giles and Marine Commander Lieutenant Colonel McNulty. The situation was clear. Guam was isolated. Communications were broken. Defenses were limited. If the Japanese arrived in force, the island could not hold long. During the discussion, surrender after brief resistance was mentioned. McNulty objected immediately. The Marines would fight to the last man, but the reality facing them was harsh. There was no hope of relief. Before dawn on December 10th, the invasion began. Beach patrol members saw the Japanese landings. The patrol fired and then retreated toward Agana to spread the alarm. Within minutes, flares appeared inland. Hundreds of Japanese naval troops moved inland toward the capital. Thousands more were landing along other beaches. The Japanese had expected strong defenses on the island. Instead, they found it completely unprotected, except for a very small garrison. By dawn, the fighting reached the plaza at Agana. American sailors and Marines were already in position behind makeshift defenses. Japanese troops began appearing in the streets near the naval hospital. When the first enemy soldiers moved into the open plaza, the order was given. Fire. A .30 caliber machine gun near the church opened first. The sudden burst drove the attackers back. Moments later, they advanced again. The defenders fired steadily and forced them back a second time. But the Japanese attack was growing. Troops moved around the flank and pushed into the plaza from another direction. The Americans held their ground. Several attackers fell. Then Japanese machine guns were dragged into position near the church. Field guns followed. Mortars began falling. Bullets whizzed past the defenders as artillery burst nearby. More Japanese troops were closing in from several directions. Within minutes, it was clear the position could not be held. Governor McMillan was contacted. His answer came quickly. The island must surrender. 3 blasts from a car horn sounded the signal. The defenders stopped firing. 2 officers walked across the plaza toward the Japanese lines as shells cracked overhead. They met the enemy face to face. Soon afterward, the American flag was lowered. The rising sun flag was raised over Guam. Later, a Navy nurse remembered the moment. The bitterest moment of my life came at sunrise, when I saw the rising sun ascend the flagpole where the stars and stripes had proudly flown the day before.